Last game of the day, it's open quarterfinal action taking place here at the VC Showcase Field in beautiful Brampton, Ontario. We got Toro in the white jerseys out of Toronto, Ontario, taking on Vortex out of BC. Theo Wan here with Clayton Howlett, Ben Hubner, our producer. We want to thank I Am Ultimate for this coverage. Clay, what are you looking forward to in this matchup?
Both these teams have seen finals before, I believe. They maybe not in a few years past, but I know Vortex has made some moves before. I know Toro has made some moves before. They have definitely both been in semis, so this quarterfinal matchup I think is going to be a lot of high energy with a lot of highly athletic plays, players trying to be the guy to make the difference as both teams finding themselves against an opponent in quarters that has been to semis and knows what it takes. So,
greatest attempt going to go down the field, and I'm not sure if that greatest attempt was even inbounds there.
It is legit. I'm looking at observer Nathan on the left from Team Orange. He is signaling that the disc will stay there. So
there you go.
A greatest attempt. I love to see it. That's got me a little excited, Theo. This is a fun way to start the game.
Disc in the hands of Dax Miller, playing for Team Canada in Poland. Expect a lot of the offense to funnel through number 22 as he uncorks a backhand looking for Kai Huang. Huang absorbs the contact and just waiting for the signal. Gets the score. Toro gets on the board first.
We have not seen many successful hucks to the left side of the field today. The wind has been fairly consistent in its direction, not in its speed, mind you, but it's in direction, pushing most throws from the left to the right on your screen. Teams really struggling with their deep game moving that way before, but that perfect huck and the presence of mind to when you go up in the air to go a little bit sideways, land inside the end zone. A game starting off with a break for Toro.
You had a chance to talk to some of the coaches, Russell Hamilton being one of them for Vortex. What was he talking to you about before this game?
Oh, primarily he's hoping that his players can keep the high energy that they've had going. He's told me that it's a fairly energetic crew. Also remarking that all these teams, you know, they're in a weird phase since the pandemic of not a lot of veterancy within the club. Definitely a big skill difference. We've got some players that have played a while, some that have only played a bit, but now seeing some players, like all of them basically have only been on the team for a year or two. So, you know, that changes things up. So he's hoping they can stay cohesive as a unit, which when I watched them early in the tournament, they were certainly doing. They're very supportive of each other, both on and off the field, really backing up their bros, as the kids would say, Theo. So Coach Hamilton hoping they can keep that going.
Ryan Kinsey bringing the disc up for Vortex. Saw him out there on this offensive point. Similar offensive line here for Vortex now. Having to go right to left on your screen. You mentioned the rebuild, and for Toro, only 2 players having played CUCs before, Dax Miller being one of them, and Will Sabalos, playing with Uproar in 2019. So a lot of players getting this first experience. A block that might be kept in bounds. Great effort there from Andrada, but it's going to go off the Toro player. Going to go off Ma.
Looks like the second and greatest attempt was not successful, as observer Sandra puts the pylon down, showing where the disc went out of bounds.
Miller has a teammate going up line and just a little too far.
I like the choice by Miller there. That receiver was wide open, but that edge, we've seen putting edge on the disc on this field, downwind, has really messed with the trajectory. Second point in a row, though, we're seeing a zone defense from Toro here.
Hammer time from the Vancouver side. Miller in there. A couple other players. Grieve being one of them, but there's a call.
Not sure what the call is. It looks like an airspace over the top with the foul, so they're going to talk about that. However, if I rewind just a second, this is exactly what Toro wants. They want Vortex to have no options, get impatient, and go for a risky shot on a high stall count. I mean, Theo, that coaching, if I put my coaching hat on, you're telling your players, why throw something with such a high risk for what could be a low reward as there will be so many players in the area, no one will be able to break out. When you can just maintain possession and move the disc. Signal from Sandra looking right at the booth to help us out. Love that. Props to observer Sandra as she signals. There is a foul. It's contested. Both players electing not to ask the observers for their opinion because they don't have to. They can just decide, we'll just keep it at foul contest. So the throw ending back in Vortex's hands.
A little scuba to get out of trouble here for the Vancouver side. Working things to this close sideline. Swasola trying to make things happen, does so. Finds Kiza. And Vortex on the run.
Vortex on the run. Toro, melt call.
2 trying to get there. And Miller in coverage. Espira 2 going to call. Or excuse me, Elter 2 going to make a foul call on Miller.
Well, so technically, Theo, any contact while a player's trying to make a catch on their body, if the forward momentum messes up their catch, it is a foul. I think what Miller's trying to make the case of, he reached out with his right hand. The Vortex receiver's left arm came up and hit his right hand as he was reaching, but the Vortex player reached up on the other side of his body with his right hand. So it was Miller's right arm connecting with Vortex's left arm. So this is a difficult one. Foul, contest, the disc will go back. Everybody pretty stagnant right now, trying to go back to where they were on the field. Not going to lie, Theo, this one has me a bit stumped, but that's why I'm up here and not down there.
It's also why you're not in Team Orange. It's part of that, laying down the law. We've talked about that throughout the stream. We want to thank you for tuning in wherever you are, either on the West Coast, just past lunchtime, or East Coast heading into the evening. Great weather this day, not so much yesterday as we had some delayed games there and had to actually finish the final round this morning. Team is being very adaptable, which is great to see.
High
Kinsey, at a high stall, has to put it up. Great defense there from the Toronto side. Stefanu.
Seeing a little bit of contact out there, Theo. I wonder if the observers are going to get involved in this. One thing observers often looking for is after a player receives the disc, how hard their defensive mark comes in. Toro 2 times now have basically run into the mark. That's the person with the disc. They just run into them to set up the mark, which we've seen a lot of warnings go out about.
Grieve trying to get it with 2 hands, but knocked away. DeWitt, big, tall cutter defender, but there is someone down on the field. I believe they might have got hit on the backswing of Miller's big backhand huck.
Oh, that's a tough one. You see that happen often. Highly accidental. Now, they are arguing a foul call. So, the observer asking if it is the foul call. And I can't quite work out what's going on. We've got the third of our commentator team who's been coaching in this junior series, G. Lee, in the booth with us right now. G, I'm going to put these on you, and perhaps when you have a chance, you can tell Theo how things are going for you and your squad.
G. Lee, what a pleasure to have you on. She was helping us broadcast the senior division as there's a block out here and no call, but at the conclusion of the point, G, we'll talk about your tournament and see how it's going.
Thanks, Theo.
G coaching the Saskatchewan side. Miller going with the around throw. It's a low one, but reeled in. Toro getting a second straight break and feeling pretty good right now. Ma coming down with that one. Miller, another assist. And before we even talk to G here, Miller coming into this game has 20 assists. I'm going to leave it right there.
20 assists.
20 assists, exactly.
We're just ending day 2?
Yep.
I think he's one to look out for, hey?
Playing for Team Canada, doing so there in Poland, the team finishing 4th. But G, you coaching the Wheaties, a team that is made up of players from the province of Saskatchewan, but some other
we've got
other provinces as well, right?
For sure. We got some players in Moncton. We got one from Calgary and Saskatchewan. So we're representing all the small little cities and provinces that may not have a big program, bringing the kids out here, having some fun, and experiencing CUC juniors for the first time. So it's been pretty sweet.
What's been the highlight of your tournament so far, just as a coach? This is the first tournament back for a lot of these players, or their first tournament ever for some. So what's been the highlight for you as a coach from your perspective of the kids that you're leading?
I think it's experiencing the community that competitive ultimate can bring. And CUCs does a really good job of just showcasing all the talent across all the provinces across Canada. So I think it's great for them to just see this and see higher level ultimate and see how other cities play the sport. Because like I said, I come from a smaller city. Regina's high school league is a little big. It's like 150 kids is big. So that's all we bring, and we can't show them this kind of style. So this is awesome right now.
And we hear about the different styles of ultimate, getting a BC-Ontario matchup, G, and as you've seen throughout the tournament here, teams from different provinces have their own way of playing the game, which is kind of cool.
For sure. I've seen a few different zones, a lot of different offensive styles, and it's been fun to just adjust to everything that we're getting.
Great layout save here as Toro trying to get a third straight break. Back-to-back layout saves. Aguiar on the doorstep, has a cutter right there, decides to go with the hammer instead, and it's going to work out for the Toronto side as they wait for the signal. Aguiar with the hammer, finding Jonathan Lynn.
These kids are gutsy, Theo. They're throwing hammers in a crosswind right now, and just they make it look so easy. I do like that about juniors, though. It's like no holds barred. Everything comes out. It's great.
No holds barred. You heard it here first from
They're
G
going
League.
all out right now, and they're on live stream, so they're looking for all the highlights.
They want to get on the highlights for
Yeah.
sure. And so, G, I'm going to let you go shortly. So any final thoughts before you sign off? And we give it back to our resident color commentator, Clayton Hallett.
Well, I'd like to big shout out to Ultimate Canada for hosting this again. BC, Discraft, all you guys make this happen. Province of Ontario, Brampton, you guys made this a thing. So these juniors are super happy to be here, and we hope you guys listening too, because I'm having a good time. Thanks, guys.
We see a timeout called, and we're going to take a break as Toro up 3-0. Want to thank G Lee for coming on. G was helpful in commentating and bringing up a lot of knowledge, commentating both the women's and some mixed division action in the seniors. Now, juniors, you get Theo Wan and Clay Howlett out here. Tore up 3-0 and looking really strong right now, Clay.
Yeah, having a lot of success with this zone, trying to stifle Vortex's style of having a big upfield run and gun kind of offense, but we see Toro is completely okay with Vortex moving the disc backwards. You see how those defenders up front are not worried about the backfield at all. It is just containment upfield.
Not really testing the deep as well. Tougher when you're going upwind, and the movement working out so far. Andrada, this throw's going to hang, but Safe play there. Stefanu couldn't really stop, but did avoid as much contact as possible. And we want to highlight those plays as there's a block here from Toro, from Monroy.
Yeah, felt he braced himself there, knew there was going to be a collision, but did it as safe as he could.
Miller, he already got more than 20 assists. See if he adds another to the mantle here, looking for a reset. But instead going to blade to the end zone. Andrada flying through, spiking it away.
Yeah, Miller did turn his whole body and look for the dump, but seemed unhappy that, or not unhappy I should say, but perhaps just unwilling to throw to a player that was currently static, so he pitches that out there, but tough to do at a high stall count.
Zone look once again from Toro. Other quarterfinals happening right now, Clay, so there's more action. We hear Eclipse and Titan playing behind us. Ignite also in action. Ignite actually lost to Toro in the crossover, which actually put Ignite in a tougher spot. If Ignite were to win and so were Eclipse, they would meet in the semis, with Ignite actually being the second seed in this tournament.
That's right. Going to set the stage for an interesting final and semis, I'm sure.
Stefanu going to blade this out. Receiver tripped. And it's going to hit the fence. That was Popek trying to make the play.
Well,
Popek, excuse me.
Before that turnover for Toro, we were seeing a defense that is just continuing to suffocate the upfield. Vortex is managing to find some holes, but they're few and far in between. Toro just putting up this big wall of players to throw past right now.
And the winner of this game going to take on the winner of Mofo versus Mischief. We had Mischief on earlier playing a very marathon game that we hope you were able to tune in as well, and especially for all the action as a throw skipping away there from Vortex.
Miller, quarterback.
Has Stefanu going up line and trying to look for him. Does so to his teammate who they played on Wild together back in YCCs a few years ago, connecting for the score.
Well, looking at the energy of Toro right now, jovial, happy. They still got their cheers going as they start to get the lead here. Vortex, seemingly quiet, but now some leadership shown from some of the players as they begin a loud cheer, keeping everybody in the game. So good sideline work from the players currently not on to keep the players seeing a lot of field time, engaged and in it.
You got to find a way to get some energy. I know it's difficult right now if you're Vortex. You've gone down a couple of points. Not the start that you wanted, of course, but we've seen comebacks in Ultimate. Clay. I know you've seen some comebacks. That's for sure. Could happen.
Yeah, a 4-point deficit. I myself, having been in that position in a finals before, and you can come back because we won, Theo, just so you know. And, you know, it is possible to come back from a 4-point deficit. The experience from Vortex, what they do have from this program, while some of these players might be newer, they do have a coaching staff that have been in these situations or have at the very least coach teams that can come back from this. So they've been in this position before. Jacob Leahy, Clayton Chung, and Russell Hamilton out there for Vortex. You see them meeting on the sideline, trying to get it back together here. And another zone look from Toro. Not surprised at all to see that.
Grieve the deep this time for Toro, the team in white out of Toronto. We know they've had a lot of success and brought a lot of players some national experience. And so right now, Vortex faking the hammer. Perhaps in Callahan territory. Got to be a little bit careful here as they trying to hammer out of it. Do so. And a big huck. Stumbling down for the score. Making the grab. Reyes with the throw. And Vortex getting on the board.
I think that hurt him a little bit, Theo. Reyes keels over, taking a deep breath after making that big run and just catching that by the tips of his fingers. Neil Andrada making that toss, or Andre Reyes, I'm sorry, making the goal. And Vortex with a much-needed celebration as they get on the board for the first time. Theo, I just want to point out it was interesting that Toro did the same style of zone, moving in the other direction. Throwing the zone, I like, but what they didn't account for is positioning on the field. It's as if they were playing it as if they were going upwind. When Vortex was going upwind, they could really suffocate and build a wall in the front and not worry too much about the deep end positions of the Vortex players. There, however, with the wind at their backs, Vortex able to throw a delicate hammer into some space with no one else but the purple. So Toro, if they're going to use that zone when a team's going downwind, they're going to have to be a little bit more conservative watching the deep threats.
Toro, their first look at their offensive line here. And curious for Vortex not having anyone on this close sideline, at least for now. We see some Toro players out here.
Pull fielded immediately. Toro just getting right to it. Vortex coming down with his own look.
Miller had a couple players going deep. The quarterback going with the scuba. Finds his target, Huang.
Same thing. Toro able to look for deeper options in a zone that seems to be putting so much pressure up front, but that wind is going to be a helper as it's pushing from left to right.
You see Miller just directing traffic. Pedal going up line. Receives the disc. Has a cutter coming under, but resets to Miller. Miller going with the around throw. Great look. Finds Ceballos. Ceballos can't get there, and Vortex break opportunity.
Yeah. Vortex, I know if they get this goal, they're going to go crazy. They have to, because this is the only thing that's going to keep them in this game right now. See that flat zone now. This is that upwind suffocating zone that we're seeing from Toro. They're not so concerned with the deep options right now, as those throws will be way harder.
On backfield, raising. A big D-line player to watch for them. Was told before the game. Good catch in traffic from Ted Osho.
Vortex finding the holes, but that pass tipped. Toro making a defensive play. Now just 5 yards outside of the end zone.
Wujasandara coming out with a two-hand spike, and Miller once again going around. Finds his target for the bookends for the Toro hold. Sunil Wujasandara making things happen.
Theo, the lefty, break, flick, so annoying to stop. You tend to get used to refining your mark against right-handed players, and then a left-handed player comes in and everything's off the table. You have to relearn to mark, and Miller just destroying right now, moving the disc where he wants on the field with that flick break around.
It's been a lot of Miller, but his teammates are helping him, putting themselves in good positions. They know what he can do, and they trust him.
You know what's interesting about that? We've seen a lot of games, dynamic duos forming up. You know, a big handler, a big cutter. Right now, we've seen Miller and everybody else, which, frankly, is awesome for Toro. If you want to put the disc in a big thrower's hands like that, where you know they have the throws in their arsenal to make a few plethora of things happen, and then have literally anybody else available to bring it down, I mean, that is a deadly recipe for offense.
Well, because you can't stop one person as a cutter. We saw a lot of, for them, Betty for Toro's women's team doing a lot of work. Finding Shen, big inside-out flick hook, absolutely huge. Looking for Kiza, who will get a second goal. What a shot. Coach Evan Phillips not happy about that. You can see him being very animated right there. Swasola dialing things up. That was insane. Just the inside-out flick down the field.
Yeah, awesome throw. Perfectly put, kind of putting an edge on it and keeping it down the middle of the field so it would stay in bounds. I mean, if you're Toro, you should be angry about that. I was remarking this earlier, Theo. That was his own look for Toro, and that was too easy honestly, coaches should be mad about that. That was too easy. And the more conservative look I want to see from Toro when Vortex moving from left to right will not be afraid to put it. You can't cheat and play deep and leave someone 30 yards open behind you right now. With the wind, that is actually extra dangerous. The wind going the other way is not extra helpful. It's extra dangerous. It will just push it way over your head, as we just saw. So I'd like to see an adjustment for Toro that if they elect to continue using that zone when Vortex is playing downwind, get more players in the back, and if someone's behind you, get right on their hips.
Evan Phillips, just one of the coaches for this Toro side, also got Rob Grundy and Michael Learn. Michael Learn, part of the Hounds squad that rose up the ranks, a darling team in the open division in seniors, going from 15th to 3rd.
Theo, I just got to correct you and let you know they like it pronounced Hound. There's 2 Ds.
Hound,
Yeah.
From Durham.
Zone look here from Vortex. They're playing fairly conservative in the deep end.
Well, they know what number 22 in white Dax Miller can do. So right now, disc out of his hands, and they're actually taxiing him right now with DeWitt. And Miller recognizing getting other handlers to go back. And DeWitt, the tall cutter defender. So a good job to put him on the very tall Dax Miller. Another lefty in Sabalos. 13 assists so far in this tournament. Looking for a reset. DeWitt mistimes it. Miller trying to get it, but goes to the turf, and Vortex a break opportunity.
Yeah, I don't like that choice. Maybe step back and throw the backhand around rather than putting it over top where the wind will catch it, although Toro did demonstrate that they can play small ball too.
Rodriguez finds DeWitt, burning Miller on that under. DeWitt trying to keep it on the same side, unable to come down with it. Borifet.
Miller picking up.
Heard him talking to Coach Phillips as well. Players having to stay behind the hash mark, and coaches as well, letting the observers roam the sidelines. Great movement from this Toronto squad, but not in just yet. Sabalos flipping it over, finds Kolinski for the grab.
Theo, my favorite word today, as you have noticed and reminded me, is cascade, but I'm going to use it again because that deadly flick, lefty flick break from Miller allowed Toro to just move the disc to the break side over and over and over. Defenders were all out of position. So that was indeed a cascade to the break side. Defenders were never in position, as you wouldn't expect them to be on the break side, but it all started with a huge gain throw from Miller. That particular throw is just driving Toro's offense right now.
I wish I was a lefty is all I'm saying, because lefty throwers have an advantage. They truly do, because you're not used to it as players. You have so many righties on your team. You're just not used to the fact you have a long rangey player, 6'4 plus handler that can step out and throw that. It's almost game over at that point. It's really hard to stop.
Yeah, Theo, I wonder, do lefties experience the same problems with lefty because they're playing versus righties all the time? I don't know. Let us know in comments below, you left-handers out there. Are you just smarter than the rest of us?
Yeah, southpaws out there. And I've seen some ambidextrous throwers. There's a player on Montreal Mephisto, Jacob Brissett. He can do a full field lefty hook. I've seen it, is all I'm saying.
And I automatically hate that guy. All right, Toro coming down in that zone look again. Now this time we're seeing in the deep, players right, defenders right on the hips. So Stefanou not willing to get burned. Taking away the deep shots, and Vortex recognizing that as they move it around back and forth, not just piping something right off the hop.
Andrada and Kinsey perhaps playing pitch and catch right now. They do so, going back and forth, and then get a middle shot. Finding Swasola. We've seen Kiza make some plays. He has the 2 goals for this Vortex side, both in the deep space. Right now, the wind at their back, pretty still compared to some of the coverage we brought to you earlier.
Calm right now, but its speed has been inconsistent through the day. A big hammer shot.
See if there's going to be a call. Players colliding there and both coming to the turf.
Theo, from my perspective here, Either player could have pulled up. Either player could have taken the primary lane to that one. That was very close. They went at it at about the same time. But observer Sandra right in there to clarify things. I'm not sure if the players did. Or
I think it might be not contested, to be honest, Clay. I see that right there.
Yeah, it's a good spirit there shown by our Toro players.
Ray is known as the franchise to the team, getting things started over Giza. Swasola surveying the field. No dump now. He's going to have to make a emergency pass. Does so with the hammer. Thought he was going to throw it. It was going to be completely denied there.
That hammer fake, making everybody move on defense. A good fake to have.
Kinsey with the fake of his own, making his defender drop. Finding Swasola back near the middle of the field as they're in their end zone set. Need to convert where they are on the field. Sion gets a little reset cut there. Still good strict vertical stack from this Vortex team. Looking for a receiver. Trying to find two, but not working out for Vortex.
No, we're seeing the edge throws on that far sideline from the field have been very difficult today. The wind catching the flat side of the disc when it turns over down there and pushing it out.
Stefanu going to the center of the field, gets it right back. Perhaps going every other here, finding Mars.
Perhaps
Mars flipping it over to Stefanu. Some contact, but Stefanu going deep, looking for his target, and Lynn scooping up, I think off the turf just outside the end zone. Lynn then throws it into a block. That's always a rushed move there as Clay trying to catch his breath in the booth.
Theo, that is my least favorite throw in Ultimate. I hate that one. It is so difficult to put a disc placed for a player coming up from behind and so easy for the defense to read. If you've ever been coached, ever in Ultimate, your coach will tell you, never throw that.
It's been hammer time from Vortex looking for Kiza, but this throw going to hit right into the back fence.
Phil, I'll say it again. Take your time. If you have a wide open receiver, we've seen most of these players from our junior division just get absolutely excited when they see a player deep who's just a sure shot, and they just throw it so hard so quickly that it's not on target. You have a moment. Take an extra breath.
Switch from the back from Vortex, and that throw hits the turf. And it's tough when these players are just so excited to be out here, just throwing shot after shot, trying to make things happen. For a lot of them, their first national championship, like we said, they played regionally, which is different, right? You get to play teams with different styles, and for some of them, this might be their first stream game.
Yeah, it's a difference in pressure and atmosphere for these players. All these players I'm watching out here obviously have played for a long time. There is one player on Vortex where this is their first year, but most of these players have played for a long time. You could just see that looking at them. A timeout called by Toro there to get it together. But anyway, these players, watching everybody out there, they are not new. They've done this game before, but thanks to the pandemic, the lack of atmosphere and experience, being on the stream, having observers, having a loud crowd.
Semifinals on the line.
Semifinals on the line. If you're a grizzled veteran watching at home, you might be saying to us, Clay, Theo, that's not a thing. You just need to relax. But we all had that moment sometime in our Ultimate career where we had to have that first go at something a little bit more formal, something a little bit more fast-paced than just our regional matchups.
Toro calling a timeout. What do you want to see from this Vortex defense? Their wind has really settled down here, so you can see the flags in the distance, at least we can from our vantage point, and not blowing as vigorously as it once was. So for Vortex, you go in person, or you're trying to put on that zone again?
Tough one. I'm thinking zone, only because it's a timeout. Because timeout, what's going to happen for those uninitiated? The Toro players here are going to set up in their offense, and whatever look they give, Vortex is going to have 20 seconds after they freeze to set up. So this does give you a good opportunity to set something up and almost adjust your zone as if to take something away. We see Toro slotting into a vertical offense. Personally, if I was coaching, I would encourage my players to do a clam or a bracket around the vertical, but players might not know what that is. Instead, they elect to go for person defense. We do see some players, though, on Vortex. We've got the last man back behind his check in the stack. Second from the back is lining up on the other side of his check, what would be the break side, to do some help defense. So Vortex having in their mind that they might do some team defense here.
Stefanu looking for a reset. Does find it in Griffin Mars. Back to Stefanu with no Miller on the field. Expect number 61 in white to make a lot of plays. Feathering it forward. Over to Kim. Great effort from Stefanu, but Vortex going to take advantage. See if they go right away. Instead, it looks like they want to set up their vertical.
Yeah, good plan. Take your time. Why rush it? You don't have to. Sorry, Theo.
Sorry there, Clay. Swasola with the disc. Going around. And almost like zooming right into the hands there of Reyes for the score. And Vortex scoring on that left to right side.
So Vortex showing us some holds. They did go down a few breaks at the beginning of the game. They have seemed to have found their stride now. Super important not letting that lead extend. I mean, Theo, obviously, they can't. You need to hold everything right now, but I guess I'd just like to point out that they didn't fizzle out. They didn't get diffused by going down 4-0 at the beginning of the game. They're still keeping themselves in it, so props to Vortex for having the mental energy and tenacity, we'll say, to keep themselves in this game.
They're going to have to find a way to break going right to left on your screen. We saw DeWitt, number 21. He's the one with the red gloves right now, or the red glove on his left hand. Tallest defender out there for Vortex, and he's been tasked with the Miller matchup. He taxied Miller on the last point. We'll see if they do that strategy again. It forced Miller out of the backfield, and I think it worked to some success there.
And a taxi, also known as, some teams refer to it as assassin, taxi perhaps the more chill term. But the idea is you set up a zone against the team, but you assign one of your players. Instead of giving them a position in the zone, you say instead you're just going to play a person matchup on just one single player. So throwing a zone on Toro right now and then having Miller to deal with someone chasing him around the entire time might be an effective measure. Teams can break that up when the taxi player on offense recognizes what's happening to them and then takes off deep. We see a split stack from Toro. A little bit of confusion as it is a zone, but they figure out how to deal with it.
Kolinsky on this close sideline. Brother Owen going through the program.
If you look at number 22 on Toro right now, Miller, he's in the middle of the field. He's recognized that he is being taxied once again, so he's taken himself out of the play, which makes it easier for the handlers because they have less defenders to deal with and can move the disc around.
Viger resetting here as Toro going backwards on this zone point. Kolinsky on this close side, working with Viger. Viger with some fakes, moving it forward, almost a bobble and drop, but keeping things going. Viger now. Vortex settling into person defense. Miller working at the top of the stack, gets free.
Yeah, Miller not getting involved until Vortex went to person. So smart to recognize that right away.
Viger going back to the open side. Toro making it look easy on offense. Sabalos getting a goal.
Great recognition by Toro's number 22, Miller, that he was being taxied. And then all other six on the players get credit too. As we've said before, this is not the Miller show. We're mentioning him a lot because he's quarterbacking the offense. But as he left and took himself out of the play, recognizing what's happening, all other six players on Toro saying, yeah, we can run this offense too. Let's not let Miller get all the glory on the stream today, not all the airtime. So I can't name all six of you right now. Those of you that were just on, if you watch the stream later, we know a lot of teams like to go back to the hotel after the day and watch what they do. But they did a great job there in running the offense with themselves and moving that disc around.
Wujasandara, Kolinsky, Viger out there, and Viger doing a great job of handling in the stead of Miller, who had gone downfield. So that's where you have the depth to have these players get experience. We see A coach perhaps scouting for future games. Chris Wakeland out there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Keeping an eye out on things.
It's always good to have the hand on the pulse, you know, of what's going on and checking out different teams and their play styles.
That is the most positive way I've ever heard someone talk about scouting, Theo. I love that.
I think there should be more scouting, more video scouting. That's a big thing. And just more video of teams. I think that will really help continue to develop Ultimate here in this great country. Zone look here from Vortex. Excuse me, from Toro on Vortex. As they're on that far sideline, scoobering out of it. Finding a safety valve as a melt is being called.
Vortex having no problem finding the holes against the downwind zone.
Kinsey with a little give and go, but that throw down on the turf, and Toro a chance to take half A3. Stefanu has a receiver going deep, elects not to throw it. Had Monroy.
The easy, light, no thank you pump fake, but finds a receiver up the line.
Schmidt going around to Huang, who then finds Stefanu. And they're really just continuing things on this break side. Look at that smooth break side offense from Toronto. Monroy finds Grieve for the break, and Toro taking half, 8-3.
Big moment in this game. Theo, you see Toro celebrating on the screen, but what you can't see is the rather deflated looking Vortex right now. As I say that, though, a player, an injured player no less, taking the initiative upon himself to fire up his team. You got to do that. 5 points. We're only halfway through our time slot. It can be done. Theo, I'm just going to go take a little peek over at the loud noises happening behind us in another quarters. I can peek at.
Eclipse and Titan going at it right now, and we have some other quarterfinals that we'll update you on of who's playing who. We'll do that after the break. Toro up 8-3. Second half action coming at you from Brampton, Ontario, the Flower City. We're at the VC Showcase Field at the 2022 Canadian Ultimate Championships. We got Junior Open action for you. Vortex out of BC in the purple, the dark jerseys, taking on Toro out of Ontario in the whites. Theo Wong, Clayton Howlett with you in the booth, and Ben Hubner, our producer. We want to thank you for joining us as Miller. Having a great game so far. Great tournament for number 22, working things over. Going a little every other. And right now they're going to have to find a way to contain number 22 as he slices it over. Kolinski evades a bidding defender. And the team that they're going to play, if Toro's successful to get into the semis, is going to really have to keen on that matchup and find ways to stop him. If they want to be successful, move on to the final to withdrawing that matchup right now.
Miller providing a much-needed reset as the stall count was getting high.
That lefty around, that's just impossible to stop right now for the mark. And Kolinski going to go around the horn, find a target. Wujasandara.
Theo, I had the chance during halftime to go take a peek over on the sideline of the quarter happening behind us. Vancouver Eclipse playing Montreal's Titan, and the score right now, Theo, 7-6 for Eclipse.
I think a lot of people, the experts out there, thinking Eclipse just going to walk in and take the title. But Titan showing that they're up to the task, at least for right now. Close half out there. Unfortunately, wish we could get you 2 camera streams going, but going to have to settle just for the 1 here.
Yeah. There's not enough booths to go around, I suppose. But our structure here, thank you to the staff for setting us up in such a wonderful setup. Got pretty much everything we need up here, including producer Ben's radio, as the staff have been taking care of us. We really appreciate that. So we've seen Toro's defense this game sticking with zone a lot. They're now going to have to play defense while Vortex is going downwind. I've been voicing my frustration with seeing deep end that's not conservative enough to stop Vortex, but Toro seems to have adjusted. Watching these players run down on the field, it does indeed look like it's going to be a cup. I want to see the backfield playing way tighter. Just let the handlers keep moving it. The wind is generating turnovers for you when things go errant, but if you give them the downfield, you're going to run out of luck.
Andrada faked it backhand, does find his target now.
Great throw by Andrada, just threading the needle.
Popped up and caught for the score. 2 finds his receiver.
Reyes bringing that in. It looked like Reyes had a little hop skip, thinking he would just have to run onto it, and then the wind showed up, started pushing that into the ground, and he turned on the jets to make that layout catch.
Clean hold, matched by clean hold here.
Hey, Theo.
What do you got for me, Clay? Talk to me. Talk to me.
7-7 in the quarterfinal happening behind us. Titan and Eclipse tie game, 1 point out of half. Perhaps they already took half on the timed half, which could have happened, but quarterfinal behind us, shaping up to be a close one. 7-7 for the teams from Vancouver and Montreal.
Some big Ultimate Junior hubs as we see Vortex with a big huddle. Their coaches, Leahy, Chung, and Hamilton, trying to get involved,
Theo,
helping their team out.
We've seen that style from most of these junior teams of having a big conference at the front of the end zone before the polls had to go up, making sure everyone is on the same page. I really love that as teams are able to coordinate, make sure everybody understands what is going on. There's nothing like calling a zone that's something tricky with a taxi or perhaps a forced middle, and then the rest of your teammates on the sideline having no idea what's going on and then telling you have the wrong force on. So that poll kind of rushed as Vortex did run out of time, and they just had to send it, and it sails out of bounds.
See what defense they set up here. The squad in purple out of BC.
I wonder if this is a rabbit wall or if they'll continue to taxi Miller, but right now there's a mark with a big wall. Miller able to find it over the top right away.
That zone proving little effect right now for Toro. But as I say that, Sabalos overthrowing his target in Lynn.
Toro just needing to show they need a little bit more patience in the end zone. They've done that several times this game of just rushing it a bit. I mean, like you say, the zone is of no real concern to them, but after getting through it, just rushing.
Yang, the intended target, now part of the cup or zone look here up front, and this is going to be popped up Scuba that never had a chance.
No, Wynn catching the flat side of the disc immediately, and it sails out of bounds.
Miller bringing it on the sideline. Reset goes up line.
Lefty around.
Then finds Huang. Keeps it going. Huang trying to find his teammate. Does find Huang, who has to stumble to make the grab, but it is a hold for Toro.
Yeah, that was... I'm a little wary about that choice. I don't think that was the intended receiver. That was throwing into lots of traffic, but, you know, I mean, it worked. I can't throw too much shade for that, but it was a little risky throwing into the traffic like that. Oh, hey, Theo, I got an update for you. The current score in the quarterfinal happening behind us is 8-7 for T10.
I see the T10 women's team out here celebrating. They're pumped up. Kingston Yang throwing that assist as Toro up 10-4.
Yeah, getting a lot of excitement happening behind us. T10, big celebration. I believe they've just taken half. 8-7 in their game as I watch players walk to the sideline. Toro in control this game right now, as they've just shown their offense is not being rattled at all by Vortex's different looks, and Vortex getting hung up on the other side of the coin by their defense. Theo, I think I'm going to do a real quick thing right now. Stretch my legs out a little bit. I'm going to
Oh, gosh. What are you going to do? What are you going to do, Clay?
I'm going to go double check that score. We got a lot of moving parts right now, so I'm going to leave this point to you. I'll be right back.
Solo point out here, and Vortex out on zone offense. Clay going to get the legs stretched out and bring you some action. Big throw going up. Stefanu, two-hand block. You don't see that often, and just really getting aerial there. Little push pass for some style from Toro. Stefanu evades the bidding receiver, fakes the backhand. Going up the line, Aguiar. Andrada not trying to make contact, safe play. Going with the Scuba. Caught. Breakside throw, and Toro gets the break in style right there. McMullen finds Primandano for the break. Toro starting to flex their might, going up 11-4. Dax Miller celebrating. The Toro team loving it. Getting themselves on the stream. Their first time on the stream this weekend. Might not be the last if they continue making this run. As we get an update from Clayton Howlett.
I'm back. And Theo, I took a little jog over there. It's a timeout. Great, I can catch my breath.
And you can talk about what's happening.
Yeah, it is 8-7 to 10. They've come back from a 7-5 deficit. So they're pretty excited. I'm peeking over. And we'll continue to bring you updates from that game. In the past, Theo, we've even had the potential just on our last game of the day just to spin the camera around after the conclusion of our showcase game. So if that comes to pass, viewers, we'll definitely do that, but I don't want to take away too much from what we're seeing right now. A dominant performance from Toro this game.
Toro singing. They're hoping to sing their way to the semifinal. We'll find out if that happens after the break. Deep pull from Toro. Back here for second half action, Junior Open quarterfinal. The team in white from Ontario taking on Vortex out of BC in purple. Toro really flexing their might right now, up big. Vortex trying to make some things happen. DeWitt on offense right now. Rocking the lefty glove for some style and some added catching ability.
Patience finds an upfield throw. We're just seeing a person look from Toro right now, deciding to throw something different. If they decided to go zone the whole game, and this is more in Vortex's wheelhouse as they're finding their way up the field with rather ease against this one-on-one matchup.
Big fakes happening. Palamos. Still yet to cross half field for Vortex. Finds a target and loving the style right now. Rocking the purple hair. Raising. Right now it's a lot of open side looks from Vortex. DeWitt stays with it.
Good elevation by DeWitt. A hard catch to make when the throw's behind you.
Trying to find his target, and they almost had it, but bobbled out of the hands by Palamos.
Tough thing to see. 26 minutes left. Can a comeback happen right now? Yes, it's possible, but if you're Vortex, that is the sort of thing you can't afford. You need to score quick right now, and you just dropping it in the end zone and getting a second chance when the upwind breaks have been so elusive for you this game, or so I should say the upwind scores. That just can't happen if you want to have any hope right now.
Huang, little flip that gets batted away. Kiao will get credited with the block. DeWitt going to do his job as a handler and probably going to be able to move up the disc a little bit for Vortex. They're trying to get their 5th point, down 11-4 right now in quarterfinal action. Going up the line, raising. Elevates for the score, absorbs the contact as well. Gets the hold for Vortex.
Big hold for Vortex, upwind. You're 6 points down. You have a chance now to get a downwind break, so the weather is currently on your side. But not only that, getting any break we know is always something that shifts momentum. So a big opportunity here for Vortex to shift the energy, get a run going.
We see the standard O-line jogging back out for Toro, not seeming phased, of course. They know their job right now. If they just hold out, it's a W. They don't need breaks for the win. They just have piled them up throughout the game. And now, just hold out for the win and a berth into the semifinal.
Theo, though, I want to say holding out, as they say in games, can sometimes be tricky. We're talking about junior division. We're talking about players that may not have been in these high-pressure games before. You don't just want to sit on your hands in an ultimate game. You've got 4 points to wrap this game up, and if you go point for point with Vortex right now, it's tight. You might pull out 1 or 2 of a lead, but then, if you're letting them get on a run and going, you're 2 for 1, you don't want to just say we're content just getting the downwind points right now. You never know what sort of run and momentum Vortex might get if they rifle off a few. Whoa,
and
wicked pull.
And this deep pull might give them some trouble. Vortex going to have to jog down to width, another point in a row. Against Miller, and bobbled catch almost didn't work out. Reset over to Viger. Been steady in the handler space along with Miller. Wuja Sundara now on the open side. Gets Miller breaking up line, but perhaps that took away a Huck look. Huang finds Viger very open.
Smart. Not great execution, but smart decision making. Looking off the Huck because the wind popping up throws, but it still pops up the under and gets it right back.
Love to see Toro fighting back after giving up a turnover. Working with this offensive line, going right to left. Miller calling out a play. Finds Kolinsky at the top of the stack. Miller now going up line. Gets the backhand. Flipping a little bit high, but Almost caught by Sabalos on the second effort.
So Sabalos with that big layout tee to turn it around. Let's see if he can make another one happen. A little confusion about where the lines are. We are sharing with the soccer pitch. The players often going out to the 18-yard box, which is not the same as the 20-yard end zone for Ultimate.
Disc on this close side, and they're going to launch it and make Toro work a little bit more for these points as the disc hits in the fence on our close sideline.
There's a call. I'm hearing players yell that there's a call, there's a call. Perhaps it was a foul on the throw.
Greg Schmidt being a good teammate, picking it up and putting the disc back into play or giving it to the players to have some discussion right now with Magnus, one of the observers, Team Orange.
Theo behind me, it looks like T10's leading 9-8 right now and receiving.
See, Coach Phillips taking any time he needs to give some instructions to his player. That's a heads-up coach right there. Sees one of his teammates, or excuse me, one of his players, Roland Huang, and just giving a little bit of instruction while there's some time. That's heads-up coaching.
So foul signaled uncontested after a little bit of a conversation talking about what the foul was and having that coaching input. And we are going to have the disc coming in at stall 1.
Some great fakes to get things moving for Vortex. They're on the run now. Finding a handler in Lynn. And a shot deep. This one's hanging. Miller skies for the block. A tough matchup there with the height.
That one also getting caught in the sun. I saw the Vortex receiver trying to shield his eyes from the sun. Miller seeming to have a beat on it immediately. And he'll unleash one right away, but it's too short.
Palamos will get the block. Back-to-back deep blocks from these two teams. DeWitt now looking for Lynn. And they get the score. Vortex getting a break. You mentioned that if Toro were to hold out, I said that, and you said, wait a minute. There could be some trouble in the air, and perhaps that coming to fruition right now.
Yeah, only if you're Toro, only if you score your downwind points, you're still going to be in the lead once you get to 15. But Vortex now showing us that they can score upfield, but they did that on a hold, and then they got the downwind break. But now they need to score on the upwind break, not the upwind hold. They have to generate a turnover and then get it in. I'm curious to see if Toro is going to take a strategy which allows Vortex to have a possession. Will this be a huck and pin, trying to get it down the field and then waiting for Vortex to make a mistake or generate a defense, or will Toro play more of a possession game right now?
I heard a timeout called for White. One timeout apiece so far, and we're going to take a break and be right back. Vortex out here on defense. The team in purple just rattled off 2 straight points. 11-6 the score line. Toro and White out of Ontario on offense.
Theo right now we're looking to see if Vortex can get that upwind break that has been the elusive just piece for them this game. It is what they need to get back in this. They've had an upwind hold, they've had a downwind break, but the upwind break is just missing. A good timeout call from Toro to try and put a lid on Vortex's energy, slow down that momentum.
Viger in the backfield as person defense from Vortex. Viger moving quickly, and Miller starting downfield this time. High throw, reeled in. Ujasandara.
I'm liking this possession style ultimate. I was talking about this before the timeout. A foul called on that block.
Perhaps a double team too, no?
Well, what's interesting about the double team, well, I could be mistaken on this, Theo, but I'm quite sure that on the double team can still get a block if they don't call it. So it is a tough one for me, but I've actually never had this go to the observers in that situation with the double team, but perhaps they're saying the throw is still in his hand. So perhaps, Theo, I got to do my homework on that one, but I'm inclined to think because it was on a throw that it wasn't quite out of his hands.
Yeah, that's probably where the foul call actually happened, not necessarily Andrada coming closer here. Some discussion still to be had, and this discussion not going to be in the favor of Vortex if they want to make a comeback. Just over 16 minutes left, 16 and change.
Yeah, I'm thinking the smart thing for Vortex right now to go to the observer because they may get the turnover if the observer rules in their favor. If not, the still goes back down to 0. So I would give up the stall that was probably at 2 for the potential turnover, but looks like it's just foul contest.
Stefano going around. Finds Hang, rolling Huang. Another lefty on this offensive line. Love that. Goes with the righty then, flipping it over to Miller. Miller with a big around flick. Looking for Viger, but in the area was Swasola crossing over to defense.
Yeah, Sola with that great D. That choice, I'm 50-50 on, simply because of it. Like we've talked about Miller's flick break around just being an absolute destroyer of Vortex this game. But when you're going to throw that far in these conditions, you got to know the wind's also going to pick it up pretty high.
Zone luck from Toro's offensive line here. Trying to make things difficult for the Vortex defense. So the player on the ground, Viger. Sandra Hansen, the closest observer there. Things right back into play. With skipping a handler going to the far side, often that can be dangerous if the throw pops up.
But Vortex keeping their wits about them. You get scared when it's in the end zone, but you get it out.
Andrada snaking it through. Will this stay in bounds? And good effort there from Kiao, but didn't work out in Vortex's favor. Vortex having a big universe point victory over Canyon earlier today. A very long point that you had a chance to watch as well, Clay.
Yeah,
that was a long one.
It was a long one. A lot of discussions to be had on that point, but Vortex coming out with the W.
Miller looking for Ujasandara, and he's going to lay it out for the score. Toro needed that one, and Miller continuing to add to his assist total.
So, Theo, I'm taking a peek at the clock here. 13 minutes, 50 seconds, 6 points. A tough position for Vortex. Time between pulls is 90 seconds. That's tough thing to make up right now.
And if you're Vortex, at some point you have to know that flick break is coming off. Just adjust your mark a little bit more, even force backhand potentially, so that that flick is just an open side pass. Because right now you're getting burned by it one too many times, in my estimation.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it a lot. Throw a look that you haven't been using to shake up the offense. And, I mean, credit to Vortex. It's not as if they're lazy. They are just out there. They are everywhere right now. They've made so many big defensive plays, but the keys to Toro's offense have not been taken away by Vortex. And I think that is why we are in this situation, is those little things that they just have to stop, where Vortex is really showing that separation in offensive capability. It's just those little edges they have not been adjusted to.
Greaves set to pull. Toro almost went too quickly there. Gonna have to reset and do it again. This pull gonna slice its way out of bounds. Be interested to see where it actually starts or where Vortex will start. Raising. Nathan Magnus, the far side observer, telling them to get it going because they are counting things down.
Just a little bit of an inexperience. Observer Nathan actually signaling that the disc is going to the brick and then counting down before the delay of game. And the Vortex player is just thinking, what is he trying to tell us? So, you know, just like we like to talk about, a little bit of learning.
I think every Ultimate player that's watching can remember the first time they played with observers. It's very different than when it's like self-officiated there.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on. Vortex finding some holes through this rather poachy defense right now.
DeWitt getting lots of burn for this Vortex side. Finds a target in two. Two looking to link up back with DeWitt, who keeps his toes in. And that'll be ruled a score. Two finding DeWitt, who's having a great second half for this Vortex side.
DeWitt using those long legs, going all the way down the field, just keeping his stride the whole time. Probably something cross-country runners like himself are used to, just holding that pace as he makes it all the way down the field. Great. He's actually had a great showing this game. I don't think we've given him enough credit for his presence on both offense and defense for this team. He's put in a lot of work against Miller, being the main guy for the taxi, putting that height matchup up, and he's also shown that he has the wheels to stay with him.
Winner of this game going to take on the winner of Mofo and Mischief, happening just at this time slot as well. Ignite Origine, the other quarterfinal taking place. Behind us, Titan still with the lead here, up 11-10, receiving on offense. We'll get you more score updates as they come. Ignite playing on the field across from us against Origine, who we both have had on the stream, so you can watch those games if you do so desire, if you're part of that fan base out there. Or you just like Junior's Ultimate.
Or you just like Junior's Ultimate. Sometimes, Theo, the more we watch it, the more we call it, the more we analyze it, the more exciting it becomes. And while we've talked about so many teams being in the rebuild and we're back, I mean, I'm kind of looking around thinking to myself, you know, I feel like these juniors have just kept it going throughout the whole pandemic. I'm not seeing the big sink or lull or anything like that one might expect after returning to play. So these teams showing us that they can play some really exciting and well-executed Ultimate.
If you're the Toronto side right now, I think, this is my prediction, you want to end this with it going to 15. You don't want to take this to cap, really accentuate the game. If you can get a couple breaks to win the game, get your D-line defense rolling, I think that's going to give you some good mojo heading into the semifinal.
Well, and strategically, you don't want to break your top line right now. You want them to be feeling good going into the semi. You pretty much are going to win this game based on the time. Oh my God, catching it on the rear is Toro. What great presence of mind to bring that in.
Thought he had the layout block, was Wasola, but instead Wujasundara coming down with that catch. You said it. Way to keep your wits about you. Kolinsky, left-hand snag. Possession saving for Toro was Wujasundara's grab. Vigar looking for Sabalos on the front cone and can be beat to the open side of your Vortex if you want to make a comeback.
Wayu Sandara doing something in 15 years of Ultimate, Theo, I've only seen on tape in a highlight video back when DVDs were a thing. He keeps the disc alive, compressing it against his body, a part of the body we often don't see, playing a big part in receiving the disc. So excellent presence of mind. I'm just trying to collect myself. I can't believe he made that catch.
Yeah, you might fall out of the booth here, out of the scaffolding with that one, and I'm sure he'll watch it back and celebrate his move as he helps Toro get 1 point closer to the victory, 2 points away from a semifinal berth. This team, completely new from 2019 where they had success, coming in third, and then in 2018, defeating Eclipse 15-10. On the other side of things, looking like Eclipse, about to just tie up this game. They get the break, so it's 11-all on the other side there. With not that much time left, folks, 7.5 minutes. Can Toro break for the win, get a couple breaks, or Vortex continue to hold on with their offense? Lynn to get things going for the Vancouver side. Zone look here from the team in white.
Smart plan to slow it down. You look in the backfield, and every player on Toro looking for someone to mark. So putting their hips on their defenders, trying not to let anyone get away, as we've seen Vortex take advantage of that several times this game.
Popped out that was going to be reeled in, but that could have been dangerous. And Palamos finding a teammate in Lynn, who had to fall down to make that grab, and this throw will be eaten up. Popick going around.
Great chilly offense, not needing to punch it up the line, waiting for the sure shot.
Schmidt saves it. Was intended for Stefano, who's done a lot more on D-line now. Batted and almost caught by Toro, not able to react quick enough.
Like to say, catch your D's. You don't want to risk the offense having a second chance after making a big defensive play.
The zone looks a great idea from Toro. Don't want that deep shot to come out. They have a defender in that downfield space. Great save from Vortex. Scion.
Toro keeping that zone look, I think. Yeah, they do. Still poaching in the lanes.
Some great possession-saving grabs here from Vancouver. And a hammer now over to Scion.
Some great saves by Surrey, Theo. Just saving you from getting lit up online there.
As a non-Vancouver person, can't say that. So, Surrey, BC zone Vortex out here.
Just trying to help you out, Theo.
I don't want to get the wrong city here. We'll see the online comments later. Inside shot looking for Scion, but Schmidt will knock it down with two hands. Is that throw going to be up? Popick trying to make the grab.
My perspective from here, that's skidded. Yes, I had my fingers on it before it touches the turf. All the disc has to do is touch one piece of turf sticking up, perhaps a chunk of rubber that we can see all over the field it needs to touch. From my perspective here, on the absolute farthest place I can be, I think it was down. But Theo, you know, it's good we have Team Orange out there because my perspective is quote-unquote garbage from up here. So
you're not laying down the law. Let's just say that from this perspective.
yeah, that's right. So we'll see what Team Orange comes down with here. I believe that's what it's going to be. Observer ruling, the disc is down. So the disc is put down. It will be Vortex disc after Toro taps the ground to signal game on.
Violation as players going too early.
All right, here we go.
Going across the field, and what an athletic play. Are you kidding me? Getting horizontal. Take it off the feet.
Theo, taking all my might not to scream into the microphone right now. An absolutely insane grab by Jeffrey Kiza. Elevating, rolling. Oh, it turns out he's a high jumper. So to no surprise, able to get up so high and make that grab. That was incredible. I believe one could likely make highlight material out of that catch.
Vortex not short of athleticism here. They've really shown that they are very good athletes and making possession saves and keeping those things going for their team. And not just possession saves, also making spectacular grabs for the score. Time, though, not on their side.
Two and a half minutes remaining in this game. I mean, Theo, we love to see that. That sort of ultimate play, everybody's going to be talking about that crazy catch by Jeffrey Kiza. But the time here, we'll have one more pull. This point, maybe a point after that, but the 5-point deficit is going to certainly be too much for Vortex to make up right now.
See if Toro can keep their wits and have some good habits on this offensive point. Want to build for the future, and the future being hopefully a semifinal. And on the other side, looking like Eclipse getting a break, up 12-11 now on Titan. Scoring a few in a row. A little shimmy move, and DeWitt not able to come up with that one.
Toro lining up in a vertical. Miller directing traffic, wondering where the cut is, but from the back of the stack, there's a reception, pitching it out immediately.
Huang keeps it in bounds, has Yang, excuse me. Going to reset, finds Vigar. Vigar then finds Kolinsky for the score. Second straight assist for Vigar, number 10.
Great patience demonstrated by Huang. Theo, I mentioned earlier, my least favorite throw in Ultimate. That's throwing to a player running up behind you at full speed when you're all alone on the end zone line. Huang throwing a few fakes, making players jump everywhere, and then elects to go for the easy option. And that's the sort of thing in Juniors Ultimate that players can watch and recognize as the way to get things done. Looking behind us right now, for those of you curious, Titan is on the doorstep on a downwind point. That would bring the game to a tie. And while we wait for this point to start, I can give you some info. Eclipse just generating a turnover, goal line stand, and they're trying to work it up the field. Theo, it's at this moment, I just wish I had cameras everywhere.
It's almost like a radio broadcaster at this point. Huck just dropped there by Eclipse, so the horn goes off. This will be the last point on this field, and on the other, if Titan can score, it'll be Universe. They do grab it just outside the end zone and feather it for the score, so it's believe it'll be Universe over on the other field there, Clay.
Yes, it will, and this will be the last point in this game. As the hard cap goes, and the rule isn't hard cap, whatever point you're on, you finish the game. We will see in our finals a soft cap rule. We will explain that when we get there. But right now, this game will either be 14-9 or 15-8 for Toronto's Toro over Surrey BC's Vortex.
Zone look here from Toro. Can they end this game with a break? Get their defense some more confidence as they head into the semifinal, taking on the winner of Mischief and Mofo. Popped up throw, and Toro gets the Callahan for the win. What exciting action here on the VC Showcase field. Popik comes down with the Callahan, and Toro takes it 15-8, headed to the semifinal.
Well, Theo, I suppose that's an exciting way to put the exclamation point on sending your team to semifinals with the Callahan. You know, Vortex players disappointed, but the game was a foregone conclusion. But I understand as a player, you just don't want to end it that way. Callahans are a tough pill to swallow. We're turning around, looking at the other field right now. Theo, we may have
I think we got the score on
here. I think we got the score on. I think Eclipse went up one, because what we are watching right now is a celebrating Eclipse as they win by 1 point thanks to the hard cap going on. We've talked about that cap rule, so Eclipse taking it by at least one, we believe just 1 point. Titan losing the lead and just unable to score before the cap went on. So like we said, you finish the point. Had Titan scored before the cap went on, they would be playing to tie it right now. So Titan giving Eclipse a a tough run for the semi-berth, but we now know 2 of our semifinalists.
Speaking of semifinals, tune in tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Eastern for Vortex out of BC. Taking on Wicked West out of Ontario. Women's semifinal action. And then there'll be open semifinal action at 10:30, and then it's going to continue on with finals at 12:30 and 2:30 Eastern. We'll see you then.